right.
All right.
I really hope this.
Go ahead. Let's introduce.
I really hope this mic quality isn't bad because I'm recording on my phone. Cause
You know what? It's fine. We're back. It's Queer Review Season 2. Who cares if you don't have the right mic? It's Pride Month.
Queer Review Season 2, Electric Boogaloo. Sorry.
Jesus Christ.
It's so many.
Please don't.
It's so many things. It's
all right. Let's tell the listeners who we are.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Shania Twain.
Welcome. No, you're not.
I am Shania Twain.
Does that mean I'm
Man,
Hannah Montana?
I feel like a woman.
Like, we're living double lives here?
Yeah, you're Hannah Montana.
Hell yeah.
Congratulations. But I'm Benny, and this is the Queer Review, Season 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Again, please. I don't want to get sued. All right, welcome back. Welcome back to June. It's Pride Month 2019. Happy day. I believe it was a year ago that we started.
Yeah.
The Queer Review.
It's been a while since we've done this, so.
Yeah, I mean we were like, oh yeah, we can make time during our respective school years, and in the end, we didn't.
Yeah.
But now we're back because the summer is a merciful time where you can really focus on being the real you and not just the school you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And today, we are... Oh, God, my chair's uncomfortable. Today, we are... And I'm running over my XLR cable. This is a great recording.
Great.
Today, we are going to be talking about... Drumroll, please, Hannah. Thank you. Alex Strangelove.
Oh, I wish I had my kazoo.
Yeah.
I wish I had my kazoo.
Sorry. We'll both have kazoos next time. Because I just bought some on Amazon before we started. I have many multicolored kazoos coming in the mail. Alex.
If I don't get one, I'm gonna be Ben.
Love.
I need one.
Yes, we'll both have the kazoos and it'll be perfect. But for Alex Strangelove, we're gonna have to survive without them.
Rip.
All right, so Hannah, tell us about Alex Strangelove. Give us the summary.
Okay, so this is a movie about Alex Truelove, not Strangelove, contrary to the title's belief. But so it's about Alex Truelove. He is a perfect student.
Terrible name.
He is a perfect student, has the perfect girlfriend. Everything's perfect, except for the fact that he has never had sex. And because we live in a sex-crazed world, he feels obligated to have sex with his girlfriend. But before he can do that, he meets Elliot, and his feelings get confuzzled. So he's like, am I gay? Am I straight? Am I bi? Who knows? And, spoiler alert, it all sucks.
I mean, yeah, for summary's sake, we both had very... sighingly negative opinions about this movie, which is weird because on Rotten Tomatoes you told me it got like an 83.
Yeah, it has like an 83, and like for I don't know, like perspective's sake, Love, Simon has a 92, so which it deserves, but like
and that's only a 9-point difference between something that's really good and this.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just a testament to why Rotten Tomatoes isn't as good. Use Metacritic, guys. It's so much better. Metacritic. I think Love, Simon has like an 83, and like this has like a 62, I think.
Let me Metacritic. I hope you enjoy the ASMR of me typing.
Oh yeah, so hot.
Hello, welcome back to the Queer Review.
Stop.
Sorry, I'll try my best.
We are not turning this into an ASMR.
Yeah, Metacritic gave Alex Strangelove a 62, which in the realm of academia is a solidly D-.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's using the American education system.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So, but
we're in America, damn it.
But I feel like it's a more fitting score than an 83.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, regardless of American academic standards, that 62 is probably a much fairer score.
So, do you want to talk about, like, thoughts of, like, before the movie? Or anything like that?
Yes. Preconception of the movie. What did we think?
I don't know about you, but, like, I saw the trailer for this.
But I'm feeling 22.
We shall not quote Taylor Swift in this house.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you. I get the impulse was strong. Anyway, so I was really hyped when I saw the trailer for this movie because I'm like, hey, it's a movie about different sexualities, and it might actually
and
talk
confusion.
about them. And, like, that's something that hasn't really been done before in terms of mainstream media. And I'm like, that deserves to be talked about a lot more. And I was, like, super excited. I'm like, it's gonna be like a bisexual version of Love, Simon. It's gonna be awesome. And I watched it, and I was like, wow, that sucked. And I was sorely disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I sort of had a similar, I did immediately compare it to Love, Simon in my head. I'm like, oh, this is Love, Simon, but they actually, like, address sex. The act of getting it on, you know.
Yeah.
1-800, are you slapping?
Which I'm just now realizing, Love, Simon doesn't really talk about that, and I'm like, kudos?
No, not very much.
Because I feel like a lot of, like, I don't know, sexuality conversations, unfortunately, revolve around the act of sex. So,
yeah.
Kudos.
And they don't deal very much with, Love, Simon just really goes a lot into, like, the attraction, the general romance of it all, without having to be so sex-heavy. And, like, sex is a very important thing to a lot of people in a lot of different kinds of relationships. So, like, Alex Strangelove does well on doing that, which I thought was going to lead to a positive, perception of the film after I watched it. So I'm going into it and I'm thinking Love, Simon as, like, my reference point, because it's the only other, like, prominently queer film I had watched in proximity to Alex Strangelove. Yeah. So I thought it was going to be, like you said, fully examining, like, the, like, bisexual aspects, because there's a boy and a girl, and so he's, like, grappling with that, and I thought, oh, that'd be an interesting dynamic. But then, I watched the movie and I didn't like it. I
don't like it. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't like this movie. This movie broke into my house, grabbed a tuna, and slapped me across the face with it and left.
That is oddly specific.
Yes, that's exactly what it did. And my perception after the movie is our perceptions after the movie is what's leading to this glowing review of this movie. So, but because we can talk a lot about the stuff we didn't like, let's be optimists and start with the positives.
Okay. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Yeah, I'll start. What I thought was positive about this movie, other than the fact that it was diving into the sexual aspects of queer relationships, I did enjoy sort of, like, it kind of came off the general vibe of the movie, the mood, the tone, if you will. The tone of the movie kind of came off as, like, playful, casual, while talking about something like the idea of having sex, and, being a person who was in an opposite sex relationship in high school and then immediately had to deal with, like, bisexual thoughts and impulses and, like, confusion, I thought it was, like, very relatable on that, and so I enjoyed the fact that it depicted somebody being in a relationship with somebody they legitimately had good chemistry with, enjoyed being around and doing things with, but also having to feel like, but what about my, like, sexual feelings? Like, what about that sort of attraction? Where do I lie with that? And, just the fact that Alex and, what was his girlfriend's name? Claire? Was it Claire? Yeah. So the fact that Alex and Claire were, like, legitimately a good couple and, like, good friends as well, and, spoiler alert, had a happy ending between the two. They, like, came to an understanding. I did really enjoy that. I would have been more unhappy if the relationship between Alex and Claire completely devolved with, like, Claire turning out to be a bigot or not being supportive, or Alex, being super duper mean to her. And of course they had their rough patches during the film, because, people are people. But, like,
straights,
the fact that
straights are straights.
Yeah, I mean, actually. But the fact that they started off good, had some rocky parts, of course. But, like, in the end, we're still friends, and she was understanding. And I'm like, that's nice. That was the only aspect of the ending and how things transpired. That was the only thing that I actually enjoyed seeing. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of my positives.
Okay, so my positives, a little bit longer than that, but still very short. So I really like the chemistry between Alex Elliot and Claire, like, I feel like I really did believe that they were attracted to one another. And, like, I mean, you brought up a very good point where, like, yeah, it would have been worse if she, like, ended up being, like, a bigot or whatever, or, like, homophobic or whatever. And
sometimes that happens in real life. Bigots exist.
Yeah. That's what I thought it was gonna be, like, based on, like, the way the movie was going, like, in that scene. Because she, like, was, like, big shock. She overreacted, like, a little bit. Like, she was, like, and I get it, but also, like, it's not your fault. Anyway, but I really liked the chemistry between them. The filmmaking was pretty good. There were some really good techniques hidden in there. Like, I really liked, how in the scene, like, when Alex and Elliot are on, like, their first unofficial date to the concert in Brooklyn or whatever, the restaurant and the car, have, blue lighting, very remnant of a pool light, so I thought that was kind of, like, a clever little thing. Doesn't...
the cinematography.
Yeah, the cinematography. The
Actually,
shot,
the
shot staging and the actual, like, shots themselves were a little wonky here and there, but I thought the lighting a couple times was pretty good. And I thought the cereals were kind of funny, like the heteros and what was it? What were the cereals? Like it was heteros. I remember that.
The heteros are upsetteros.
No, what were there were two other cereals. They were like gay. It was like gay flakes or something.
I mean, we could Google it. Let me.
Now it's gonna drive me mad.
Just quit. Just Hannah. Hannah. Quit screaming. Hannah, please. It's cereal.
I haven't said anything.
Hannah, please. You're disturbing the children.
We're not even in the same room.
Okay. So they are heteros, bi crunchies, and gay flakes. You were right.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of funny. And
yes,
that's kind of that's
humorous.
the extent of what I found funny. That's it. That's the only thing I found funny in this movie. All right.
Yeah, the list is kind of short for things that we legitimately found humorous.
Yeah. Like, even shorter than things we actually liked in the film.
Yes. Hannah, why don't you delve into the critiques?
All right.
And the negatives.
All right. So I wrote down specifically, so I need to say this. The specific line, I'm gonna sex you so hard. Because I promise you, I mean, I know I'm not a teenager anymore, but I can promise you, no teenager in the history of mankind has ever
of speaking
or will ever say the words, I'm gonna sex you so hard. They would...
with any sort of legitimacy. They could say it as, like, ironically or as a joke, but never with legitimacy.
If they mean it legitimately, they're gonna say fuck you. Like...
I'm gonna fuck you.
Just...
And you're like, could you be more romantic? And they're like, I'm gonna sex you. And they're like, you know what? Go back.
It's like the upgrade and go
meme.
Fuck back.
Fuck, go back.
So I wrote down that line because that was dumb. So the humor or lack of humor, it's not good. This movie, I feel like, because I wrote down, like, for my overall thoughts, I put down that this movie feels like a decent coming-of-age film, being literally drowned by a dumb, raunchy comedy. Like, there was another movie on Netflix. I didn't watch it, but I know it exists. It's called The Package. Have you heard of this?
Oh my fucking
It feels like
God.
if Love Simon was, like, beaten to death by The Package. Like, that's what this movie...
stupid, fucking, really bad humor. Like, I didn't watch the movie. I watched somebody do an in-depth analysis of it. And I know every fucking thing that happens, and I wish I had not.
Yeah.
I wish I had just remained blissfully ignorant of what happens in The Package instead of being subjected to literally every minute of bullshit.
Which is ironic, because the same actor, the actor in this movie is also in The Package.
Yes. Alex Strangelove's actor is in The Package, and he's gonna have to live with that. You know, he's gonna have to live the rest of his life and die knowing that he was in that movie.
Exactly. But yeah, the humor just feels super, like, forced. Like, it never feels like it's trying, like, to be, like, make humor out of the situation. It feels like we need to shove the humor in because the situation we've presented isn't funny. And I'm like, right, the situation isn't funny, so why do you need to insert humor? If it's not funny, why make it funny? Like, or try to make it funny. Or better yet, just make better humor out of the situation that you're making.
Precisely.
Yeah, so that's kind of like it's not, I put down insert John Mulaney's not funny meme here.
Not funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No.
So, another big thing that bothered me, it discredits bisexuality and any kind of...
Ooh, mama.
And any kind of
Does it
other
ever.
sexuality that's not gay, which I find problematic because this is written by a gay guy and directed by a gay...
Quite problematic.
And, like the bisexual line where it's like, do you listen to Panic at the Disco and jerk off to vampires? That was kind of funny. But like but then like in the same exact scene, there's a line like, "Are you gonna end up like Sydney? Hey Sydney, you like guys or girls?" "I like the person. See, they're freak," like, or something like that. And I'm like, they're asexual, like, or what?
Or pan.
What is it where you just like the person? Is it just asexual?
A pan. You're thinking of pan.
Yeah, okay. I am thinking of pan. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
See, this is why we need more movies about sexuality, because I don't fully understand all of them.
That's fine. It's always okay to not know things and ask questions.
Yeah, so, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it completely discredits any other form of sexuality except for being gay. And I'm like, no. Like, okay, I feel like this movie is like a riddle. It's like, okay, so this guy likes this girl and this guy the same way. What is he? And I'm like, bisexual? And the movie is like, no. And I'm like, okay, then what is it? He's like, he's actually gay. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't answer why he was attracted to his girlfriend then. Except...
Yeah, I mean, if I may interject...
Go for it. Go for it.
It's sort of like accidentally, because I don't think the person who wrote this, Craig Johnson, also what a fucking name. I don't think Craig Johnson deliberately made any sort of like choice to hint upon romanticism as opposed to sexuality, but like, if anything, we could refer to Alex. I mean, and we should do our best not to, like, you know, thrust labels upon other queer people, but like, if we wanted to, we could make a case for him being homosexual, but like bi-romantic.
Yeah.
Because any person who watches this movie can definitely tell he has a legitimate attraction to Claire, more than just being a friend. Like, they had their relationship that was founded from a great friendship. And like, the only part of that wasn't there was the sex part. And you can still have a relationship with somebody without having the sex part. And so, you know, he could be bi-romantic, but like, is still homosexual.
But that's okay, and that brings up a good point where it's like, and then that just talks about like why we need to make more movies that talk about different sexualities, because there is such a wide variety of like sexualities and romances and gender identities and like gender preferences and all that kind of stuff, that in order for us to normalize them and kind of, you know, bring them into the mainstream, we have to put them in films, and we have to, like, if we want to make it normal to talk about like, oh, I'm homosexual with bi-romantic tendencies, we have to display them in some way, to some extent. So,
right.
And that's why I get so, like, that's why this movie made me so mad, because I'm like, this is just, like, instead of like, trying to explore other sexualities, like, I also really thought, like, when I was watching this movie, I really thought it was gonna be asexual, and I was like, that would have been a really bold move.
That would have been dope.
That would have been a really bold move, because I'm like, I didn't see it coming. It's like, I don't know how well it's illustrated, because I'm not asexual personally, but like, it would have been interesting to see a different perspective, and I'm like, maybe it would have opened the doors to talk about it like that. But no, he's just repressed gay.
Yeah. See, like I said earlier, with like, I really resonated with the kind of situation from being in an opposite sex relationship in high school and having to deal with that confusion. Yeah. Like, I mean, look at what I am now. I am like coming to terms just very recently, just very coming to terms with my own like gay like aspect of myself, but also the asexuality of myself. And so like I personally would have been like, yeah, this was a situation like almost identical to mine, where after, it took me years, it took Alex Strangelove like a couple weeks,
Not
months.
even days. It was like days.
Yeah, it was days. You know what? Good for you, Alex Strangelove, you fictional character. But like, it took me years to realize I'm like, oh, I felt this way about my girlfriend from high school this way. I feel about I feel about guys this way, but all in all I feel about this way. And it took me like a really long time to figure out that I could be all those things at once instead of having to figure out one identifier. And I think Alex could have done the same exact thing, but like maybe do it in a more mature way, because this movie, like you said, kind of gets drowned by being a dumb comedy.
Yeah. It really
but like so that level of maturity wouldn't be there. It wouldn't be realistic.
If this movie was made by like, I'm going to use this term lightly, Oscar bait directors or like filmmakers, like, I mean that in terms of like filmmakers who actually care about the film they're making. Like they're not making it because they want to make money. They're making it because I have a decent story and I feel like film is the best way to articulate that story.
Right.
If it was made by someone like that, it might have been interesting and good. Like, and also if it had more than just one queer perspective, it might have, the bisexual thing might have been like, killed or nixed. Because, like, the other annoying part with the bisexual thing is, like, it's brought up as an option and then completely forgotten about. Like,
yes, it is completely written off as a joke and then never brought up ever again. Amen.
Yeah, it's like the guy's like, I might be, like, Alex like, I'm a bisexual, and Dell's like, no, you're not. And he's like, yeah, you're right. And then never brought up again. And I'm like, why? I'm also, the one thing I am glad about, because I was slightly worried they were going to do this, I'm really glad they didn't try to, like, invalidate bisexuality as, like, an option. Like, because, like, there's, like, this is a thing amongst, like, even the LGBT community with, like, oh, there's no such thing as bisexuality, like,
it's a phase.
Yeah. So, like, I'm kind of glad I'm, like, it would have been really easy to say that, like, or it's, like, it would have been really easy for Dell to just be like, just pick one, dude. Like, just pick one. Or something like that, and I'm kind of glad they didn't, but, it doesn't make it, what we got wasn't great, but I'm like, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, the fact that they, and it's, I hate as a queer person who, like, being queer people who love film so much, film and TV and, like, representation in the media, I hate the fact that we actually have to, like, for lack of a better phrase, we have to grin and bear it and, like, be thankful for these breadcrumbs when we want the whole fucking loaf. Like, I want my loaf of queer, trans, non-binary people who aren't just gay or just straight, like, representation, like, queer people of color, like, just, like, I want the whole delicious loaf.
Yeah.
But you have to, like, the fact that they said bisexual in a film, like, that's, you gotta savor that breadcrumb. Like, you're not gonna get it again for another 7 years.
Yeah, I watched this YouTuber talk, I'm not gonna name the show I'm talking about, but it's an animated show on Netflix that ended last year, that had a very big queer controversy. Please tell me you know what show I'm talking about.
Can you please just say it? I don't like guessing things.
I don't want to name it because I'm ashamed to name it.
Jesus Christ. I don't want to say it because I'm embarrassed.
Okay, so it's Voltron.
Oh, God, Voltron.
So, I was watching...
Oh, fucking shit.
So I watched all of it, and I was watching this YouTuber talk about...
Good for you.
I was watching this YouTuber talk about the reaction to Shiro being confirmed gay, and how they basically confirmed... They confirmed it, but they didn't do anything in the show to actually, like, they gave him a love interest, they gave him a 30-second scene, and then they killed him off.
Yep.
And the 30-second scene that we got was them fighting, and there was no clarification of their relationship outside of, like, what the showrunners told us. So, this YouTuber brought up a very good point of, like, there was a massive outrage to this, like, to the writers of Voltron. Like, this is, like, about, like, queer baiting and, like, how this is bury your gays. And they were basically saying, like, this is what the LGBT community needs to do with their rep. Like, they need to get outraged when it's bury your gays. They need to, like, because the problem is, it's, like, because, like, so the reason that it's always, like, plausible deniability is because the people who are writing the shows are more afraid of the, parents, the homophobic parents who don't want their kids to see it, or just homophobic people in general, than they are of the LGBT community, which is why we only get little breadcrumbs and plausible deniability and stuff like that. But he's, like, they basically said it's, like, if you make a big fuss over, like, a gay character dying for no reason, and, like, it becomes a big thing, then they'll be afraid of us more than they'll be afraid of the other group, if that makes sense.
Right.
So that's just I know that completely sidetracks what we're talking about, but that just, like, was a
it's valid.
It's a really valid point where it's like, yeah, if you want your representation to be fair, you gotta, like, get mad about stuff that makes you mad. You can't just, like, accept, like, oh, this character might be gay, or this character might be in a relationship, or this character didn't deny they were boyfriends, or whatever. Like, you know, you can't be content with what you're getting. You can be content with what you're getting, but you also have to fight for what you want. So that's my 2 cents on that. Back to Alex Strangelove, because I got really sidetracked on that point.
Back to our regularly scheduled program.
Okay, so my last big point, and this is going to be a little hard to articulate, so bear with me.
We're in this together. We're all in this together.
Okay. Alex is not a relatable character or a likable character. Because, so... Before I finish this point, I'm going to establish one thing. I do not know everybody's story about coming to terms with their sexuality. There's no way in the world that I'm going to know someone could watch this movie and be like, I relate super hardcore to Alex, like, you know, in terms of, like, I snapped at everyone when I got mad about the fact that I was gay for a while, and I snapped at people and, like, that kind of thing. That's fine. But I don't relate to him as a character. I don't, like, the point of a movie is not to relate to a small group of people. It's to make your character relatable to everyone, despite the fact that not everyone that's watching is gay. Or some kind of other sexuality. Because, like...
Yeah, there's definitely that balance between, one, establishing characters within a work as individual people, because, like, you know, I have, like to add on to your point, I personally have the issue of people looking at characters in TV or film and being like, this singular person is a bad representation of the group that they are representing, and therefore they are, like, a bad character. But at the same time, I think, like, you and me and lots of other queer people who are also, like, creators, like, we like to make things, we like making characters and ideas and storylines. I think a thing we should recognize is that, like what you're saying, you're like, I don't know everybody's story of, like, coming to terms with their sexuality, and to build upon that, Alex is not a representation of every person who has struggled with their sexuality. Like,
right.
Just like a female character is not a representation of every single female identifying person. A person of color is not the one sole representation of their entire ethnicity or racial group. And, you know, the same for any sort of, like, identifier as a character. One singular person in a work, you know, unless deliberately made so by the creator, which I think is a risky thing to do, but, like, one singular character is not a representation of an entire group. That's, like, you know, taking away individuality of this character. And the fact that as an individual character, you're right to say that they need to be at least relatable, even though they're not, I don't know why I said it like that, relatable,
Relate-table.
They need to be relatable.
Relate-table. It's a relate-table.
It's a relate-table. They need to be relate-table of at least the people, you know, if you want people to watch this, you know, you gotta at least on some level.
Yeah. Like,
have that relatability.
I mean, like, I know, I'm gonna talk about this movie a little later, but I just saw Booksmart, and, like, so Booksmart is about these two super, super smart girls who never partied in high school. That was not me in high school. I mean, I didn't party all the time, but I wasn't, like, a super academic student.
Hannah, you're fucking wild.
You
fucking party
you didn't
animal.
go to high school with me. But
Oh, I went to high school with you. I was there. I was there through it all. You just never noticed me.
how could I not notice you? You're a giant.
I am giant. I'm 6'3" for our listeners who are curious.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild when we meet up because it's. I'm like, you're one of the only few, like one of the few people in my life who are like actually taller than me. Like people are like an inch or two taller than me, but like you are like definitely taller than me, and it's weird.
Thank you. It's one of my greatest
Anyway,
talents.
so back to Booksmart. So I was not a super academic kid in high school. I was also not a party animal in high school. But Booksmart does a good job of making those characters, making the party animals, and making the bookworms people relatable to the point where you feel for them when things happen, and you like, I don't know. It's like, like when I watch Booksmart, I care that I want to see them get to this party. I want to see them have an awesome time. When I watch Alex Strangelove, I don't want him to get a happy ending because he's kind of an asshole to everyone. And I mean, Claire isn't much better because, like, I mean, I wrote down another point where, like, Claire basically snaps at Alex. Alex gets a little snippy with her after, like, one date, or one not mock date with Elliot, and he's like, I'm confused, so I'm gonna snap at you a little bit. And she's like, fine. And then, like, she's, like, ranting to herself the next day, like, boys are so stupid and dumb. And she's acting as if, like, he forgot, like, her birthday or something, or, like, something really big. But he didn't. He got a little snippy. Like, people do that. It's a thing. People have rough days. It's fine. Have you never had an argument in your entirety of a relationship, like, ever? So, that was, and, like, I mean, this is very much, like, similar, like, Sarah Burgess in a sense of, like, I don't really want him to get a happy ending. What has he done that makes me, like, care about the fact that I want to see him get together with Elliot? Nothing. He just snaps at everyone and gets mad when things don't work out. And then he, like, he's just a jerk. And, like, I don't, like, relate to him in any way. Because they don't develop him at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of, like, if they made him more distinct, because, I mean, like, the other good point is, like, what do we actually know about Alex outside of the fact that he's a virgin and he's a good student? Like, what do you know about him?
I know that he has hair and wears button-ups and polo shirts.
See? You don't know anything.
God damn it.
Like, that's my problem. Like, I don't know. I, like, compare this to, like, okay, another good, to compare this to a better film that we were comparing it to before, describe to me Simon from Love, Simon.
Oh my god, Simon has so many interests. He has an interesting group of friends. He does theater, and he does, like, he has close friends, and, like, he likes going out, and he does, like, things with his school, and, like, you know, school-related things. He's much more than just his confusion.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. He's more than his confusion.
And that's what I mean. Like, if you make your characters, like, interesting and dynamic, and you make them a little, and you make them a little bit more human, and thus more relatable on a certain level.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's kind of it for my bad points. Like, just not related, characters aren't relatable, humor sucks, and give bisexuality a chance.
Yeah. This is one of the issues we run into on this show, is that you and I have the same exact critiques, because, like,
That's why we do this. We get along so well.
It's why we do this. We're just so agreeable.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are basically my big points too. That it's just, as a person who, you know, I for a really long time identified as bisexual, and I'm not gonna call it a phase because I'm not bisexual anymore. I'm not gonna say
I was
it was a phase.
I was bisexual for a year.
Yeah, and, like, people can, like, can people go through other, like, labels of sexuality depending on where they're at figuring themselves out? Of course. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with being one thing and then later realizing or changing into something else. Because I would really like to deconstruct Alex Strangelove's, you know, oh, he was gay the whole time sort of thing. You know, like what you called it, the repressed gayness. Yeah. Like,
that was...
Because, yes...
It was just... That was like a dumb answer. Like, I mean,
It's so 2009.
yeah, it really was. And I'm like,
You know, when gay people weren't invented.
I mean, I I get it. I get what you're going for. He was made fun of when he was a kid, so when when he was faced with the consequences again later in life in the context of the film, you get why he was getting so defensive about it. But that doesn't excuse him being an asshole for no
Yeah, no, you can be the victim and still be a right proper asshole.
Like, if it was a balance between, like, he was confused, so he kind of shut everybody out and was snappy, like, instead of just snappy, I would have been like, at least he's, I don't know, he's just poorly written. It's just bad writing.
Yeah, he is poorly written. And, like, you know, I related to his situation because I went through, like, you know, being bisexual for, like, a good couple years of my life. But, you know, at the same time, it's just it's handled so dismissively. And while I would agree Del's joke about Panic at the Disco and jerking it to vampires, that was funny. It was a cheap laugh, but it was funny. That's still, you know, this whole thing, and again, it was written by a gay person, this whole writing off of a different, completely valid identification of, like, sexual orientation, you know, like, I don't know why we still have to say this, but, you know, bisexuals are valid. Happy Pride Month.
Everybody's valid.
1,000,000%. You know, and just the fact that it was handled so dismissively and so erasively, I will say, it's like, that was the biggest, like, head shaker for me. I'm just like, fuck, you really could have done something well. Like, you know, kind of underlying what we've been saying, there was just a lot of wasted potential.
Yeah.
And yeah, potential
Wasted.
at, like, maybe being ace, maybe being bi, but you're just like, nope, he was repressed. A rudely toot toot. We're done. We're done. That's what you get, queers.
There's also like some dismissive of, like you were saying before, like, pansexuality was dismissed, like, without, like, they didn't even say it, like, they couldn't even do it, like, the honor of, like, saying what it was, because, like,
you're like, I like the person, you're like, you're so fucking dumb. Like, Del can suck a chode.
Also,
okay?
wait, because now I'm thinking about this, not to derail your points or anything, is Paul...
Derail me, Hannah. Derail the fuck
Is
out of me.
polyamory, like, an LGBT thing? Because they mentioned it...
they
mentioned it, like, a couple times in the film, and I'm like, I don't know if that's a sexuality thing, or if that's...
It's not... It's sort of like this fun little in-between. It's sort of like, remember how earlier I was talking about, like, the romanticism? Like, polyamory is sort of, like, in that same realm of... To me, it's sort of in the same realm of romanticism, but it's like, you know, it's very, very frequent. It's not that rare that these days, you know, like, lots of queer couples are more polyamorous due to, like, you know, their sexual, you know, their sexual orientations. Like, I know many people, like, from school and from, like, you know, people I knew, like, earlier in life and still know now, and, like, see how they've, like, changed and evolved. And, like, you know, monogamy is not so much of, like, monogamy versus, you know, polyamory is not so much of a black and white issue. It's more of, like, you know, it's different. It's different between every single person who would call themselves polyamorous, who want polyamorous relationships, who just don't like monogamy. It's very much like it can be something that factors into your sexual identity, or to some people it's just a preference. Like, I know plenty of straight people who are like, oh yeah, I want to be poly, but it's not really, like, for the purpose of, like, keeping, like, sexual options open or, like, exploring themselves. And then I know queer people who are like, you know, I like polyamory because, like, it makes me feel more like myself. And, you know, definitely that's something that's going to have to be up to the person / relationship of whoever they're in. So can we write it off? Can we immediately say yes or no if it's, like, part of, not like part of the LGBT community, because that's gatekeeping and that's, like, no bueno.
No bueno.
That's no bueno. But, like, it's definitely, It's definitely interesting. It's very multi-layered, very
I don't know.
complex.
I only ask because, like, I remember, like, in that one scene, like, when he's getting high with Elliot, like, the girl is like, if only he was bi or poly, and I'm like, okay, but, I mean, like, my go-to after bi is pan, so, like, that's why I was like, is that, I don't know, the referencing polyamory, like, it's fine, like, it's not, there's nothing wrong with it. I was just like,
well, I think she might have been referencing polysexual.
oh, what?
Not
Wait,
polyamorous. What's
Polysexual.
what?
I don't know what that is.
Here, let me. It's sort of like, you know how like you know how like pansexual, omnisexual, they're within the LGBTQ community, and this is a fun little lesson in linguistics and how we evolve as a community. Labels never mean one thing anymore. They don't mean one thing.
Yeah, you're right.
And thank you. And while we can look up definitions and try our best to like sort of like what I said about the polyamory thing, it's really just up to the person. Like if I tell people that I'm gay and they think that means one thing, but my definition of gay is very not much, it's definitely not what a lot of people would assume. Polysexual is defined as like incorporating many different kinds of sexuality, often like referred to, it's like pretty synonymous with pansexual, but you know, if somebody were to say to you, I'm polysexual, and you're like, isn't that pansexual? And they'll probably explain to you saying like, well, personally, I like the phrase polysexual because ... you know.
So like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, like, this is just, like, a general thing, in terms of, like, normalizing certain elements in media. Like, I'm not saying, like, we're gonna get a movie about polysexuality in the near future, but I mean, just, like, talking about, like, just having films that openly discuss bisexuality and pansexuality and polysexuality and, like, all these different things so that people, like, aren't confused. Like, if that makes sense. Like,
exactly. And Alex Strangelove definitely had that potential to like really elaborate on those things.
It just,
but it didn't do it.
It just wasted it. Yeah.
Yeah, and for like my critiques, that's my biggest one, is just the wasted potential. Sorry. You just had so many opportunities to do so many things to like at least not discuss other veins of sexuality so dismissively or reductively. But it did. Yeah. And that's what pissed me off.
Yeah. Like I said, if this movie was given to, like, a filmmaker who actually cared and, like, people who actually, like, if it was made more so with a mentality of, like, I really want to tell a good story for all the people who are struggling with sexuality rather than I want to make another Love, Simon, then, like, maybe it would have worked.
Exactly. So, overall, what would you give this film, scale of 1 to 10 stars?
I would say, like, I'm gonna say a 4 or a 3, just because it made me mad while watching it. And a lot.
Yeah, I would agree. Actually, I'm giving it 3.5.
God damn it! Why you gotta copy me, Benny?
I mean, you said 3 or 4. I said 3.5. I said something completely different. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Fine.
Give it 3.5.
I mean, I give it bonus points because it is talking about other forms of sexuality. Not well at all, but it's at least referencing bisexuality, which I mean, like, is breadcrumbs.
They said it. They said the word. Here you go, you starving queers.
Throws bread, like, just
throws breadcrumb, and we're like, oh.
No, it's like that John Wayne. Now here's your bisexuality card that's only referenced once. Go fetch.
Go fetch. Street smarts.
No, that's. Oh wait, have you not seen Delta Airlines? That's what I'm quoting. It's the
Oh, you're quoting the Delta Airlines. Sorry, I was referencing the money clip.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, sorry. It's like
we're getting our John Mulaney.
You get the money clip, you throw it. Street smarts. So yeah, you're like, here's your free meal ticket. Now go.
Here's
fetch.
your bisexuality reference. Here's your bisexuality reference. It only happens once. Go fetch.
Okay.
And we're like, okay. That's basic. You could
Now we're gonna frame you for
you
murder.
could honestly rewrite that sketch to be like LGBT representation, and it's like, can I get some LGBT representation? No, it's delayed 9 years, and we're like, okay, and then I go to the bathroom and I come back and I go, any updates, and we're like, yeah, we put gay characters there, and then we killed them. And you're like, okay.
Why are you doing this? Because we're Delta Airlines.
Life is a fucking nightmare. Oh, God. I want to work on just rewriting that bit to work with, media with LGBT characters. Because that would be hilarious, in my opinion.
That would be very funny. Oh, before I forget, before we end, we usually end after we have a new end segment of recommendations, because we have so many things that we want to talk about, but also so little time.
So much gay, so little time.
So many gays, so little time. Hannah, what is your personal recommendation for our dear listener?
Well,
I say listener because there's usually not that many.
Be optimistic, goddammit. My recommendation for this, however long until the next episode comes out, is Booksmart. It's super...
Why?
It's super, super funny. It's super... it's really well written. It's really well made. It's basically it's not Alex Strangelove in a sense of, like, it doesn't talk about sexuality, but what's nice is it's a coming-of-age film with a openly gay character, and they're not a token, and they're written as a normal human being. Ain't that just dandy?
Ain't it the dandiest?
So, yeah, the movie is really, 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 really funny. I loved every second of it. And it was a great time. I loved it so much.
Great.
Yeah. Benny hasn't seen it yet,
all right.
So go yell at her.
I have not seen it, but I will. I will, I promise. My recommendation is, and I know it's old at this point, and actually this TV show has actually, it's over, it's done, but every single episode is on Hulu. You should watch Broad City, not only for extremely, the way I describe Broad City, and I know, like, everybody's like, watch Broad City, it's so fucking funny, which I will agree, it is fucking hilarious, but, like, I like it for, many other reasons just besides the fact that it's funny. I think it's like Seinfeld, but with two women, and I think that opens up lots of different veins of comedy and, like, social commentary that Broad City, isn't afraid to take on. Not only do they talk about things like feminist issues, like, like issues of sex and gender, issues of, like, sexuality as well, and class and status, and, it's a very, very funny, wacky show, and what I like about it is, basically from the first episode throughout all the seasons, Alana is very clearly, like, very sexually fluid. Like, she's very polyamorous. She is, like, into men, women, anything in between that imaginary binary. She's just interested in people, no matter who or what they are on the outside. Alana's just, like, walking confidence, and she just really vibes with herself and other people. And what I like about that is that because sometimes, like we were talking about earlier, sometimes in the queer community, we run into the issue of trying to over-label and oversimplify with our, like, within ourselves. Not like other people trying to do it to us, but we sometimes do it to ourselves. And I think having a sexually fluid character that never has to say their actual label, quote unquote, is something very fulfilling and nice to see. It's, because Alana, as a character herself, she doesn't need that label. She's perfectly happy being in a relationship or just being, like, single and ready to mingle and just, like, DTF, like, anybody she vibes with. And I think that's very liberating and very healthy to see somebody who has such a good relationship with that aspect of themselves. And minor spoiler alert for the final season of Broad City, so if you don't want this spoiled, please turn off now. The other main character, Abby, Abby has, she goes on dates and has romantic interests in men throughout the entirety of the series, and then more and more, like possibly with the help of Alana and her sexual fluidity, Abby starts to like have feelings for and like goes on dates and actually starts a relationship with a woman. And while that can be seen as maybe a little tokenizing because it only happens in the very last season, I think it's dealt with in a way that's very similar to Alana's sexuality, where Abby sort of like comments on it, and she's like, like earlier in my life I would never like think about women in that way, but like I don't know, something's just changing, and I can like see women for how attractive and how great they are, and like I can like them like that. And I'm just like, damn, bisexual Abby is what I am here for, and I am loving it. And that made me really happy. And like, it's sad that it didn't get to last very long, but the fact that it did happen and was dealt with like in a very realistic way is just like, lots of people are just like, yeah, people of the same sex are great, and I can recognize that now and like just go on dates with whoever I want. I'm like, yeah, I support Abby. But yeah, that's why I would recommend Broad City. Feminism, sexual fluidity, really, really, really funny, just overall. That's my recommendation. Go watch Broad City.
Okay, cool.
It's all on Hulu.
Awesome. I think that's it for now.
Yeah. Yeah, that is it for our first episode. We hope you enjoyed. Thank you for listening. I've been Shania Twain.
Nope, you're really not.
You're right. I have been Brandy Carlisle.
Nope. Try again. Are you gonna try again? Benny! Oh my god. For the record, Benny has stopped recording accidentally. This has been Queer Review, so I guess I'll just suffer while in the editing room and figure out how I'm gonna end this. This has been Queer Review. Bye!